The incredible story of the MV Primrose, trapped by the monsoon. Fullest, Dreary 1981. A fierce summer monsoon was raging over the Bay of Bengal. The Primrose, a massive 16,000-ton Panamanian freighter carrying tons of poultry feed, was fighting its way through a wall of torrential rain. Bound from Bangladesh to Australia, she carried a crew of 31, mostly experienced Hong Kong sailors, under the command of Captain Liu Chung-lung. On that fateful night, visibility dropped to near zero. Giant waves tossed the multi-ton vessel like a toy, while powerful currents silently drifted the ship off course. Around midnight on August 2nd, a terrifying screech of metal on rock tore through the storm. The hull shuddered violently, the engines roared, and then went dead. At full speed, the Primrose had crashed onto a coral reef. When the first rays of morning light broke through the retreating storm clouds, the crew stepped out onto the deck. The ship was firmly aground, but there was no immediate danger of sinking. And right there, just a few hundred meters away across the foaming surf, lay a picturesque island. Dense emerald jungles sloped down to a blindingly white sandy beach, a true tropical paradise. To the storm-weary sailors, it seemed they were saved. What they didn't know was that this tiny patch of land was North Sentinel Island, and its inhabitants do not forgive uninvited guests. The first day passed in relative calm. The sailors patched minor leaks and tried, without success, to contact rescue services.
Hello, come in. I have a visual.
The storm had knocked out some of their transmitters,
in the trees.
and the weather made any quick rescue impossible. But at dawn on August 3rd, the officer on duty noticed a strange movement at the edge of the jungle. From the shadows of the trees, figures began to emerge onto the white sand. They were completely naked, dark-skinned, and highly athletic. In their hands, they held massive wooden bows taller than themselves and long spears. These were the Sentinelese, one of the last truly uncontacted tribes on Earth. They have lived in isolation for over 60,000 years, preserving a Paleolithic lifestyle. In their language, there are no words for the outside world, and their only way of communicating with outsiders is immediate attack. At first, the ship's crew watched the islanders with curiosity, but that curiosity quickly turned to chilling dread. The tribesmen began shouting threats, gesturing wildly, and brandishing their weapons. Then, splitting into groups, they began launching narrow wooden canoes into the water. The men of the tribe were preparing to storm the giant iron ship. Captain Liu Chung-lung immediately realized the scale of the threat. He knew that if these warriors boarded the ship, his unarmed crew wouldn't stand a chance. Rushing to the emergency transmitter, the captain sent a panicked message to Hong Kong. More than 50 natives are on the beach, armed with bows and spears. They are building boats. Situation is critical. Send a helicopter to evacuate us immediately. If that is impossible, airdrop weapons for self-defense. But rescue would not come quickly. Due to the relentless storm, no ship could approach the reef, and helicopters were grounded. The sailors were trapped in a steel box in the middle of a raging sea, face to face with primeval fury. With no firearms on board, the crew had to adapt. To protect their lives, they turned the freighter into a fortress. The sailors armed themselves with fire axes, heavy steel pipes, crowbars, and flare guns. Round-the-clock watches were established along the ship's perimeter. Every night became a living nightmare. Under the howling wind and crashing waves, the sailors feared that dark shadows would climb up the anchor chains at any moment. Whispers of old legends about the bloodthirsty inhabitants of the Bay of Bengal, documented even by ancient historians, haunted the crew. Fear of being torn apart by prehistoric hunters kept them in a state of constant, adrenaline-fueled panic. Ironically, the crew's only salvation was the very storm that had wrecked their ship. The heavy surf and violent winds created an impassable wall of churning water at the reef. The flimsy Sentinelese canoes simply couldn't penetrate the waves to reach the high iron hull of the Primrose. The arrows they shot from their giant bows fell short, landing harmlessly in the boiling sea foam. Yet, the tribe did not retreat. They waited on the shore, patiently watching their prey. The siege dragged on for 12 long days. Fresh water was running low, food supplies were spoiling, and the crew's psychological state was reaching a breaking point. The men slept in fitful shifts, clutching makeshift spears made of sharpened rebar. Then, on the morning of August 13th, 1981, a new sound cut through the roar of the ocean, something entirely foreign to these waters. From the sky came the rhythmic chop of rotor blades. A rescue helicopter appeared on the horizon. It was a civilian chopper, chartered with the support of the Indian Navy. For the Sentinelese, the appearance of this roaring giant iron bird was a shock. Terrified, they fled back into the safety of the jungle, watching from the trees in awe and fear. The helicopter pilots showed immense courage, hovering over the swaying deck of the Primrose in gusty, stormy winds. In 3 shuttle flights, the helicopter evacuated all 31 crew members to safety in Port Blair. Not a single sailor was physically harmed, but it was a voyage they would remember for the rest of their lives. Thank you for watching until the very end. If you enjoy stories about our Earth, humanity, and the boundaries of civilization, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments.